Alright, hello everybody, welcome back to some more Kerbal Space Program. Now, I've just had to scrap a bit of a recording. What we were trying to do, I'll show this off so it's not completely wasted and we may even come back to it later. We were trying to build a rover that we could land on the surface of Duna and have it ramble around and explore. With the parts we have, I'm really struggling to build a design that would reliably land and separate. So for the moment, much as I hate to do it, it's also really big, which is really awkward. We're going to start over and we're going to build a static lander. We're going to build a sort of platform style, lands on the surface and takes some data lander. I know it's less interesting, but I can make it work. That's a big antenna. We definitely don't need one that big. I don't even know when we unlock that. So, first of all, we have our core. We want an antenna to talk to home. Now, I believe we were going to go with... I think we're going to go with one of these, the 32. Ah, that's why it's so big. Okay, it is actually an improved model. But yes, this will be actually quite an easy thing to build because you basically have to build a sort of mushroom. In a sense, that's all you really kind of have to do. That transition annoys me though. We might put something in there to make that look a bit nicer. Even if it's not technically as efficient. Something like that, but not that. Oh, maybe that? Yeah, okay, that looks a bit better. Some batteries around here. So he's going to be unable to move, so we're going to be able to move to a better spot. Solar panels? Yep, that looks pretty good to me. And then we need the rest of the science equipment. It should be pretty easy to fit in on this large frame. We're going to try this. I think these are meant to work in the water, but we'll give one a try on this craft. At least then we'll know for certain for future missions. And a little bit more. And we'll want a thermometer. We'll want a barometer. Want a gravioli thingy. One thing we could potentially do to make this thing look a bit sleeker would be a universal storage body, perhaps even. We do have a lot of the things for that. What have we got? We've got a materials bay, physics unit, which is seismic and gravity, an atmosphere unit, a goo unit, and we've got... Okay, yeah, you know what? Let's do that. Universal... They don't seem to show up very well, the universal storage, so you tend to sort of look them up. I think it is a 1.5 meter one. It wants to be 2 meters long. What's going on there? Oh, what's at the center? It doesn't need to be fuel, but it could be batteries. No, it can't be batteries. Okay. So I have one of those. It was 1.5. Ah, okay, 1.5 is too big. We want 2.5. 2 meters. Okay. That there. Put a casing around it. We'll take it off for the moment while we fit it. So we want that. We want a goo unit and an atmospheric science unit. A physical science unit. Want a material bay. And I don't think we have any more science ones actually. What we could even do is take these off and put a battery unit in there. Just to keep it looking nice and sleek. In fact, we could even as well, because this will be... Actually, no, I kind of like having that guide frame now. I'm going to leave that there. So we have atmospheric, goo, physical, materials bay, and the new one. Okay. That's good to me. So then we don't put a shell on it. Can we do anything with this visually? Oh, we can. Black, white, satin, Tantaras, various colours. We'll go for the silver. Matches the rest, so when deployed it'll open up like that. The other thing we'll probably do is actually attach a parachute straight to the top and some drogues to the side. Oh, and move the antenna perhaps, maybe to here even. 4 of them. Yeah, that would look reasonably good, I think. I'll just check they don't get in the way of each other. Like I say, apologies if I'm going through this a bit fast. Like I said, I just had a failed recording, so trying to get back into it fairly swiftly. That is quite big, but then again, I don't need to say again twice, but you know what I mean. Duna's gravity is quite thin. Gravity? Duna's atmosphere is quite thin, so you do need a reasonably good chute. Just in case, we'll do a... Can we get away with a... Oh, 1.25. What's the one up? 1.8. Yeah. No, okay, we'll do it for 2 meter. Throw in a shell at the atmosphere. Oh, these are a bit big. Tell you what. Easy to solve. There, so they're a bit tighter in when it's deployed. Oh, that would have been good if we get it to actually snap on top of that. There we go. You'll then want a heat shield underneath. Again, what we are going to do, though, that we planned to originally, this is still going to be an automated landing. So the idea is we use the automation parts to make this landing process something that will happen on its own, regardless of if we get a good signal or not. Once it sort of enters the atmosphere. This will be the SL Static Lander 001 Duna class. Okay. Right, next we have battery, we have solar panels, we have antennas. We'll need an extra antenna to get it out there, but we'll put that on the transfer stage. We need our automatic landers, command and control. Compro. Oh, loses contact. Oh, okay, that's interesting. Oh, you could get it to automatically unlock your antennas, maybe even. Altimeter, that's what we want. Oh, is there a pressure one? Let's see what he says to that. Okay, that's fine. Altimeter will do. So the weird angle too. What's going on there? Okay. So if we go 25 meters, descent, not stage, action group 1. So we'll set it to 75. Oh, can I not do that? 75. There's 75,000 meters. And we'll make sure we orbit at 100 until we're ready to land. Action group 1 will be deploy the fairing. So that'll ditch that. Action group 2 will then be sent past 50 meters. Action group 2. Action group 2 will deploy the chute. That should do it. In theory. In fact, what we might even do is also have drogue chutes, because I was thinking about this. Whereas we have got space for them still. We'll have drogue chutes, and we'll have a third one. That will trigger... So that one will trigger at 25, and this one will trigger at 50, and this will do action group 3, and that will deploy the drogue chutes. Okay. Set their angle to as high as possible. Okie dokie, right. Minimum pressure to as low as possible. Yeah, they are, because they're... Set our altitude to as high as possible. Oh. Are they only going to deploy at 5,000 anyway? We'll see what they do. Right. We'll also set that to be as high as possible. I just want it to... Yeah, they might just decouple anyway. I don't know quite how that's going to work, but we'll see. So... We have our little pod that we're going to throw at the ground to try and land on it. Should have plenty of power to transmit back to the relay satellite in orbit, as long as it's got coverage. So we need to get it there. I believe we need about 6,000 delta V. We don't have to worry too much about landing because we're just going to error brake. So let's go. If we go for about 2,000 on the transfer stage and then 4,000 to get it into orbit, that should be fine, I would imagine. Yeah, that will probably do it. Would the Wolfhound be even better? Yeah, it would. 2,500. Then if we get it to 4K to get this into orbit, that should be plenty. Landing on Duna does not take that much when you're not doing a complicated landing. Jumbo as well. Mainsail? Need a bit more fuel, but could do it. $2,500. We probably do want a bit more than that, so we'll have some strap-on boosters as well. Yeah, that probably is right actually. 4, I guess, 4 kickbacks. Yeah, that's about an extra 1,000. That should be enough. So we have the right. We'll have that nose cone. Oh, there we go. And we will want Separatrons. It's not going to be too complicated, the rocket, but it is spiking a little bit. But again, solids are nice and cheap. In fact, this isn't a tremendously expensive rocket anyway, actually looking at it. Again, our usual 3-point mounting. Usually find this is a nice reliable way to set up your rocket. So that the side boosters won't sort of twist off or anything. Separatrons will be... We'll have to go there, if anything. Not sure what happens if they're just going straight up. Oh, they're not anyway. They are a little bit off the side. That's good. Local, we'll just slide them in a little bit. Hopefully that should be enough to stop any explosions. No, there. That stage. Right. So, main boosters. Separate. Mainsail. Separate. I'll separate up there. Transfer stage. Antenna. And power supply, actually, for that matter. Oh, actually, we'll want a better antenna because we're going to have to be sending this thing a long way. Yeah. I've realised doing our transfer stage is going to need something a little beefier to still talk to ground control, and we're also going to need solar panels. Because, of course, the ones inside are not going to be exposed while we're in flight. We don't need fancy retractable ones. Those are a little bit exposed. Yeah, we'll go for these. It should be fine. 3 of those. Yeah, it should give us reasonably good coverage. Don't need a huge amount of power while we're just idling in transit. Oh, what we don't have is much SAS actually. Now I think about it. Just going to cut down the Delta V a lot. No, we're still about 7k. Okay, that should be fine then. Right. And I believe that's about everything we need. Oh, we still got hanger extender on for some reason. Oh, yeah, I know why. It's because it's the same... Yeah, hanger extender is the same key as my, stop recording button. So it gets in the way sometimes. Do we need fins? We probably ought to have some fins. Do these fit inside there? For the sake of not having to take those off? No, they don't. Okay. It's fine, we can fix them to that. Move the whole thing up a little bit, it's not in the ground. Okay. 4 fins. Right. 100,000. We should have a craft to take us to Duna. It should still make us some money if this works. We just have to enter the atmosphere of Duna. We don't even have to successfully land to do one contract, and we have to get some science data back off the surface to get the other. Let us fly. And hopefully immediately realise I need an antenna to get it to orbit so that I can unfurl the one on the side of the rocket, because otherwise if we try and extend it in atmosphere, we break it. So we do have to return to the hangar and fix something. Hooray! Yeah. Oh dear. Oh, sorry, big yawn. Oh, it's been a weird morning. Right. Back to the hangar. Let's quickly add that antenna onto it. Oh, I hate this. I hate when you realise you forgot something mid, like, loading, and it's just like, oh. Now I've got to go back in. Right. I believe this is the one. It's like a really lightweight one, but I don't think the... Well, 500 kilometers you might be okay, but it doesn't weigh anything. You just have the slightly bigger one. Right. Now launch. There's barely any difference. It's like if I was super strapped for budget, maybe, or if it was something I knew was going to be operating really close for certain, but I'm like, just in case. In fact, given specifically that we will be heading up to probably 1 million meters to ready for our orbital insertion. That's in to quickly check. What was the range on you? 1.5 million. Okay, yeah, we're okay then. So, yeah, 1 million. That's pretty much all correct. Auto warp. Quick save. Alright, 3, 2, 1. Lift off. A little bit of a drop, but we're going up. Thrust to weight ratio is a little lower than it probably should be. There we go, and we're at 1.5 already, so now we're good. Yeah, our actual delta V may be a little lower because of that, but we should get away with it. It's the separation I'm a tiny bit worried about. This craft, in theory, should have enough fuel that it could also theoretically go out to Eve and land a probe on there as well. Should be exactly the same process, I would imagine. The only thing we do have to be careful to do on Duna is not land on the mountain, because the atmosphere is not really there at the top of that, and the parachutes won't help us. So we probably want to come in for actually quite a shallow landing, wherever it is we end up. Ideally throw it down a canyon, but whether we can actually manually pull that off, I don't know. As I say, staging? What happened there? That was weird, it didn't stage. I don't even think the Septron's fired. Well, we got away with it. MechJeb, are you being weird again? We still got a connection. Yeah, we're still connected. We got power. Don't know what happened there. Yeah, we're getting some new science, apparently. We're getting atmosphere analysis. Huh. Oh, that's the new one. Of course it's shielded. Okay, so it says it can work in atmosphere as well. I thought it was for water for some reason, but maybe not. Maybe I'm totally imagining that. That's cool. Anyway, that science part's been in the game for ages, and I've not been using it, so I've been missing out, apparently. I'm also going to set utilities up to be able to... Oh, whoa. Yeah, no, it's not all the staging us through the fairings. It might try and drop the fairings anyway, but hopefully it won't. Because we ideally want that for a bit of protection through the atmosphere early on. Or at least for it to look cool. Yeah, I think that's the solar panels on the sides getting a bit hot. No, it's not. It's internal components of some sort. Oh god, it's those. Ooh. No, those didn't melt. We kind of need those. We can manually trigger them for orbit, but it's not ideal. Again, we might lose signal on landing. That's why I'm trying automating those parts of it. Oh, I guess it's because they're attached to the fairing, and the fairing's getting hot. Therefore, it's transferring heat to them, and they're probably quite fragile. I didn't even think of that. Alright, so we're good for orbital insertion there. Even if MechJeb was being weird in other ways. Our planet transfer maneuver might be slightly thrown off, given that we're going to switch engines halfway through it. Let us extend the panels. MechJeb will do it, but it'll do it once we get to 1 million, and by then we might be out of power, which I would prefer not to be a thing. Duna relay. Not the Duna Ranger relay, yeah, it will be the Duna Ranger relay. We'll have the Duna Ranger relay point at this to sort of facilitate our transit out of the solar system once we get that far. I think at the moment they're both pointing at the Eve relay. Or even Ranger. Yeah, and it's basically pointing us backwards by the time we get to the point we need to be at in our orbit. Burning in space is slow. Fins off. Not want them wibbling and causing it problems. There is a mod that automatically shuts down fins out of the atmosphere, and I might even have it, but I don't remember, so just in case. I'll turn the gimbal down because I know what it's like for wobbling my crafts. Gravity scan we can actually do now. Nice. Power's running a little low, but we just about got away with it. Engine running, oh yeah, fairly rapid at recharging anyway. I might even be tempted just to make sure the mover goes okay to ditch this stage. Yeah, it's not really going to give as much extility. Okay, for the sake of ensuring our next maneuver goes okay. Ditch down to the Wolfhound stage. There we go. Right. Let's select Duna and... No, let's... Yeah, no, we'll do that. So we can burn out to Duna and then tell the relay to point at it. Right, maneuver planner. Oh god, where's the thing? Advanced transfer. Port shop selection. Oh. I accidentally deselect the planet. Oh, I need to refocus our camera. Periapsis. If it actually includes that, but it at least tells you what it is. Right. Create and execute. 827. That's not too bad. Should have plenty of fuel to get ourselves into the right orbit. We want to make sure our orbit, wherever it is, puts us underneath the Duna Ranger, because the Duna Ranger can act as a relay, transmit from ground control to our little ground station. Even if we might only have limited windows where we can transmit, we should get some at some point. You're all the way out to full warp, Mac Jeb. Normally I would hyper warp, but we've only got about a year in game time, so I think we'll be okay. That's a little annoying. That's because it's oh, I can't think of the words anymore. Because it's constantly been like, hey, you're over a biome for a gravity scan. Oh, no you aren't. Let's actually change that to something useful. So our orbital height. Tick down and get into the right place. Yeah, this is what we're actually waiting for. Waiting to be... Because we're orbiting faster because we're underneath, so I think we're waiting to be sort of maybe like there when it's there, and then it'll... By the time we slow down going out to it, we'll intercept it in the right place. See some of the signals we have. You can see that the Ranger is still talking to the base control. It's still working. Not that the craft really wear out in Kerbal Space Program, but I realise some craft do wear out a bit. I believe solar panels actually have a bit of an expiry on them. I don't know if that's because of the exposure to extra radiation and stuff in space or what, but I believe solar panels do actually like lose output over time. At least the space ones. Might be the materials they're made of, it might just be because they got some of the earliest solar panels, I'm not sure, but... Of course, a lot of the rovers and things now on, like, Mars missions, for example, are nuclear. They run what we'll call RTGs, which are basically a little hot pellet of, like, plutonium generating a bit of heat. Therefore, a little bit of electricity. And they'll run for a few years before they wear out. Quite a few years, even. Don't know whether they can like activate them only when they land to increase their lifespan even further, but can't really do that in Kerbal. Okay, we are burning. It's actually, I believe, the engine meant to be the engine on the Saturn V, the command module. This particular engine, I believe that's what it's based on, with the sort of square plate, sort of covered in, I guess, thermal insulation. It's wide belt. In our case, it is doing excellent work in... We're going to have to do now. Let's see how we're looking. There's our maneuver, as long as we encounter. Hey, excellent. Perfect. You see how much there's a last tiny little bits of delta V matter. Right. At this point, we now go to the Space Center and we go to the tracking station and we tell the Duna Ranger relay to point at it. And that should give it a signal on the way out there and make sure it has one when it gets there. Now, our circularization burn might be awkward depending on what side of Duna we're facing. If we're hidden from Kerbin, I'm not sure how it'll work. So we may have to circularize higher and then drop our orbit, or drop into a bit of a re-entry dive, which would not be ideal, but we might have to. Sort of dive in from high up and hit the atmosphere shallow. We'll see what we do. Right. Duna Ranger relay. There it is. Like that. We just have to tell it to target that, and then we go back to this tracking center and switch back to our craft. Actually, I think we might have simple craft switcher. We might just be able to double click on it, I think we can do it from the map. But I think we could have done that anyway. I think I wasted a little bit of time there, but oh well. We'll live. Right. Oh, but it's you that I need to change. Static Lander 01 Duna class. And we are connected. Excellent. Which is there. Yeah. Cool. One of our two relays is now transmitting to us, and we should be able to maintain contact with ground control. It would have been nice to land that rover, and I will potentially maybe try and do some rovers later, but I have found they are typically quite fussy, actually, in terms of building a successful one. Yeah, as you can see, we're at a good angle at the moment. We should maintain fairly constant contact. Oh, yes, we could run some experiments, potentially. You know what they are. Gravity scan, yep. Power transmission is reasonably high. At the moment, of course, we're using the antenna on the side of the craft, as well as the solar panels, so... Okay, we could do another one. Okay, we don't get as much science back, but we might as well do it. We have to save these two, because these two are going to be one shot. We're going to have to land those on Duna and use them once. But the science returned even from a remote send should be good. Some of the other ones, like gravity scan, we could do on the way in. A couple of times, maybe even. Many asteroids blinking in and out of existence. We find them and lose them again. Huge. That's a big one. They do sort of come and go until you actually scan them and track them a bit more. See some of the others we actually know where they are. It would be interesting at some point to bring back a Class C. I believe we have a Class A in orbit, but there are certainly a lot bigger ones, and they are... I reckon Class C is sort of the... I would say the nicest to handle. They're a bit heavier, but there's loads of fuel in them, effectively. There's a lot more rock in them than the Class A's. Although I guess the Class A's, I suppose, are technically the easiest to handle just because they're so light, but you can't get so much from refueling them. If anything, you're probably better off just building a slightly bigger craft to move them in the first place and ditching the heavyweight refinery gear. Not that we knew that with our previous one, but we learned. Right, we're nearly there. Ah, of course, because the communications cone is covering the whole area, it is technically providing a signal to our other craft, even though it's not meant to be, or not particularly trying to. Recognize it, periaps, and we'll drop it down. Do a manual maneuver in a minute. But I think we're going to have signal there, so we're just going to for now. Nice, smooth thing. Transmit that data. Quick scan, also transmit that. We're not getting full value out of these, but we're getting a reasonable amount. Temperature scan, can't run while it's shielded. Okay. about to say it needs exposing to the atmosphere, but it's not really what it is. Ooh, high over Duna's Midland Sea. Ah, so it's different biomes is what we're getting for this. Lowlands. Wow, we're getting loads of data. Midlands. Sweet, so I think we just grabbed about 120 science on the way there. Yeah, we're up above 200 now. Ah, it's not kicking in. Okay. We lost signal? No connection? Okay. Right. But now we've got it. Okay, we've got a signal. Retrograde. Signal lag, I think, is happening here. Tell you what. What we can do is cheat a little bit, because MechJeb kind of can still run even when that's an issue. Oh, yeah. D+ delay. Oh. I see. Yeah, it's like a 70-second delay for manual inputs. So our manual inputs might catch up with us in a minute, which is not actually going to be ideal. It might suddenly kick in and decide it wants to throttle for a bit. Hopefully it doesn't, because that's actually going to cause us problems. In fact, it might even time warp a little bit just to make sure we miss them, because it'll be time warping while it receives the inputs. Oh, shoot. Yeah, it did remember them. Oh, boy. I think I realised fairly quickly and cut it off, but... Okay. Okay, that's skewed things slightly. Right. And we're nearly out of fuel now. Okay. Lesson learned. There's a 60-second delay on the thing. And be careful what you queue into it. We're going to have to just land at wherever it takes us, basically. So, a quick save. We'll put up with our mistakes. We'll lower our periaps to 20 kilometers at next apoapse. And then we'll see where the landing takes us. In fact, we might even have to manually decouple the shell. Because I just realised we're going to lose signal if we don't. And while that wouldn't be too bad, we won't be able to reactivate it. Oh, in fact, that's going to be a problem in general, because our antennas are too... Oh, boy, I may have screwed this up. We needed a static antenna on the thing, I think. Oh, it does have an antenna built in. What's the range on the antenna? On a directional 3 kilometers. Not enough. Ay, ay, ay. Okay. Okay, potentially salvageable. We'll see how this goes. I'm going to try something. So... what we're going to do... Ooh. Shadow from Ike. And cast onto the surface there. That was good. Oh. The automatic deployer's gone off. For everything, actually. What we're going to do... Okay, 180 then. Good. We're going to try... re-entering with the engine attached. Also going to throttle it up, although flight computer says it's going to take a minute before that kicks in. And we're going to try and re-enter with this one still attached, so it's still active. We'll also activate... set it to like 150. Keep one of these facing away. We're going to try activating that one and see if the aero forces snap it. We have spares, so if it does snap, we in theory somewhat get away with it. Yeah, the signal delay is interesting. I hadn't really thought about playing with that as a mechanic. So we can keep that data to transmit once we hit the ground. So not that data. Or that, for that matter. Have to wait for the antenna to extend before we can risk decoupling. Okay, it is extended. We'll check whether it snaps or not. We may have a problem here. I think we needed a better fixed antenna. But we'll see how it goes. What we'll do is we'll wait until we're slowing down quite a lot in the parachutes, and then we'll decouple. As long as this antenna hasn't snapped, we'll be okay. Don't know what the throttle thinks it's doing, but... solar panel broken, and the antenna definitely broke. Okay. That one has not broken. So, yeah, what we might have to do is wait until we can drop into safe speeds, activate one of these antennas, and then separate the rest of it. Yeah, we are losing solar panels. That's to be expected. Actually going to deactivate that. It's going to eat all our electrical charge. Oh, boy. This is going to be so close. We're losing power as well. Oh, boy. We could tell it to hibernate. If we deactivate the antenna, we lose control of it. We may have to quick load and adjust our landing somewhat. Just since we just lost our antenna, and I think we no longer have control at all. No, we still have one antenna. I don't know if we can send signals to the craft, but... I guess what we do test is how well it lands with what we have already activated. We'd still technically somewhat succeed because we did enter the atmosphere. Yeah, let's do a landing test, see how we look. What do we... No, I think maybe we just take the loss on this one. We've still got some data back. We can tweak it for future landings. Maybe launch another one in a future video. Maybe I'll accelerate some of the boring bits and we'll launch with a Mark II lander. But what we can also see if we can do... Yeah, no connection to send command on. I think we're not going to be able to do anything. Unless we can tell MechJeb to activate antennas. Oh, it can do that. Can it? Can't deploy antennas? Toggle antennas? No, okay. Okay, definitely not. Okay. Ah, yeah, we can't even revert. Yep. Okay. Land is what we have, unless MechJeb again has a way to do the antennas, but I think they're not working because we don't have signal. See what it does, I guess. Could be the signals layer again. Things are breaking. Now, is it we don't have a signal because the relay is not overhead? The relay isn't overhead, so it could be that when that comes overhead, we will regain signal if it can transmit to us, but we'll just have to see. It might be because it has a more powerful transmitter. It can reach the antenna inside our thing, so we won't abandon all hope just yet. If we could do that, theoretically we're not dead yet. We'll also probably need to set the call to hibernate. I'm not even sure we're going to be able to manage that. Okay. Connected water deploy solar panels. Might not be able to do that either. We might just be dead. I'd really like to save this, but I'm not sure there's anything I can do. We've had a little bit of cheating, which is frustrating. But yeah, next time we'll put one of those fixed antennas onside this inside bit of the craft. Even if it has to get a signal to the relay, it will at least work. Or potentially another one of these that triggers an action group upon going below like 5 kilometers, where we'll already be slowed down. That'll extend the antennas and the solar panels, which would probably work. Yeah, well, maybe to start next episode, we'll skip to like having done that. That's probably not a bad idea. Skip to having already done that and just cut to like the landing with the Mark II. It costs us a bit of money this flight, but I think it's actually still made us money because we did get the Explore Duna contract. And again, if we do suddenly pick up a signal before we lose contact with the craft, it's maybe salvageable. But the other thing we need to check is how hard do we hit the ground. Quite hard. Okay, yeah. So the other thing we're going to need to do is improve our landing. Let's see what happens. If we wait for the thing to come back overhead, do we get a signal? No, we don't. Whether that be because of our antennas or what, I don't know. But okay, we've had a bit of a failure today, but we'll bounce back from it. And hopefully, either way, you guys have enjoyed the episode. And I will catch you guys all again next time. Hopefully, we'll have a little bit more luck. Or, at least, the original plan was to end the episode there. I'm going to be honest, I was feeling like I really don't like how that ended. Okay, I'm not sure what flight computer was stopping before there. So I have relaunched this entire mission, and we are better equipped this time. We have not changed much, but what I have added is an additional action group altimeter. I couldn't find it. Set to go off at 2 kilometers, 2,000 meters above the surface. That will do 3 things that I think will save the mission without even having to really modify the rocket, aside from the addition of extra batteries for a bit more power. Those 3 things are, once you get 2,000 meters, at which point it will be basically idling in the atmosphere anyway, it'll be really slow. Deploy the antennas, all 4, deploy the solar panels, and drop the heat shield. So I realised, oh, that was probably a huge majority of the craft's weight. Like, that really probably was like a good 2/3 of the entire mass, so we should slow down enough to get a more gentle landing. And land the right way up this time. Now, interestingly enough, like I say, I've redone the mission to get us out to Duna. I didn't reload it or anything, I just did a new one. We're down a bit more money. We've still got the science. Ike is here. There's the moon, that is. It's actually, like I say, it's famous for interrupting your maneuvers. So, we're actually about to get, we're going to get a free world's first for entering orbit around Ike, and we can grab some science data while we're out here. I believe the atmospheric scan we can do as well while we're up here. The rest we can't do yet. But the other thing we'll do as well is make sure we have a full battery before we attempt landing. We are connected via the Ranger relay. It looks like it's going to be in the right place for us to have a signal when we wish to circularize, which we're actually going to do at Periapps this time. Not accidentally feed a bunch of extra instructions into the flight computer and screw it up. Hopefully. Right, yeah, there's I shouldn't press the keyboard with things like that to quickly do stuff, because it's like, wait, no, hang on, the flight computer's then gonna like, oops, here's an input. It's just like, no. No, I didn't actually want to do that. Alright. We burn now. There we go. Yeah, and again, the relays make sure we actually have a signal this time. We will try and land somewhere underneath where the path of the relay is obviously going to go over. That's the previous Duna class, the one that failed. It is still down there. I don't believe we could do anything with it. It could be, actually, that if we were to get an engineer to it, they, I think, would be able to manually deploy the solar panels and that. So it actually might still be usable with a Kerbal to intervene and like, effectively hijack the probe's controls. Right, so what we'll do is we'll set up a maneuver that will just drop us onto the surface roughly there. It's a little steeper than I'd have liked, but just do it. Quick save. And even if it's a bit steep, we're going to try and come in quite shallow, but I don't think it's going to work. But yes, like I say, I felt a bit bad that it ended on such a down note, and I'm like, you know what, I'm not happy with that either. Let's do this again. Make it work this time. Again, the landing process should be automated, so even if we lose contact with our Duna Ranger, this should still work on automatic, and I shouldn't have to do anything. We also have full power this time. Or effectively full power. So. Right, now the last thing we do... I shouldn't quick save there, but oh well. Retrograde, force roll to 0. I can auto stage. We will stop there because I believe the first one is at... Was it at 10,000 or was it at 75? It's at 75, okay. First automatic part of our landing should be kicking in any second. Why are we not finding retrograde? Is that because we've lost connection? We may have a problem. Again. We'll see how this goes. Okay, we're hitting the atmosphere. Because the relay has passed over as we no longer have a signal. Hopefully, the bottom of this will be heavy enough that it tilts it down into the atmosphere, but we may have a problem if not. I can't believe we're still having issues, but we did quick save in orbit, so we can at least return to up there, and I will do that this time, if we have to. Here we are tilting. I don't know if that's the retrograde kicking in at last or what, but... Can we tell the flight computer to do that? Potentially, but I'm not sure what some of this stuff means. A little bit off. Don't know. Well, we are re-entering, but I'm not sure quite what it thinks it's doing. I think this is heavy enough that it is trying to fall down anyway, or fall first. I think what we're going to do... Oh, yeah, no connection. I was going to say send a throttle up to full order, but... Okay. It's naturally stabilising a little bit, I think, as long as our parts remain locked up, we'll be okay. It will drop this fuel tank. The only problem is going to be whether the extra weight from it, rather than slowing down with the heat shield, is going to cause our landing to just fail in general. Which it looks like it could well do. Drogue chutes. Are armed but not deploying yet. We're going to have to... Oh! Okay, so the... Yeah, we are indeed going to recover. We'll see how we land with that many chutes. Yeah, the weight is reduced. I think we're still going to... Something exploded. I don't know what, though. Yeah, we're going to quick load. That was partly saved by the automated thing, but clearly we need to... That fuel tank is too heavy. We clearly need to make sure we don't have that while we're landing. So, retrograde this time. And decouple. Wait for the... There we go. Okay. Yes, it loses the ability to... That's fine. Okay. That's interesting. It actually still did it, even though it wasn't visible. Right, hopefully this time we don't burn up this stuff. I was hoping it would be able to keep us retrograde even without a signal, but I guess not. Oh, unless that is it doing it now? I suppose it doesn't have much torque. I expect it's more as hitting the atmosphere, but... Reaction wheel's idle, yeah. It doesn't have a signal, it's just naturally stabilising. Okay, that's fine though. That will still work. Yeah, again, it may be that our angle is wrong. And we'll just have to quickly adjust it while we're still in orbit. Just come in more shallowly. Well, this is looking better. Yeah, this is Duna's thin atmosphere at work causing us problems here. You think it'd be easier having less in the way, but it actually makes it worse in some ways. Eve is very easy to land on by comparison, because even though the gravity's high, the atmosphere's super thick, so your parachutes work really well. See, we're shedding speed a lot faster this time. Nice flat panel on the front, basically. The only thing is we're rocking a bit because it's not keeping us actually facing really fully forwards. Drogue chutes are going to be safe to deploy though, so I think we'll be okay this time. So they're not reading as unsafe, and they are armed. Let me turn that off. Yeah, drogue chutes are out this time. Slowing down. Yeah, this is why we've automated some more of it. 5,000, main chute opens. Drogue chute's fully open, as does the main chute. Hey, okay. Yeah, so before we hit the ground at about 15 meters a second, and it was enough to smash the lower section. We would still have been functional, but ideally I'd like to have that nice flat mushroom platform or upside down mushroom platform to like land on. So this time, once we hit 2 kilometers, it should decouple the heat shield automatically, as well as extend the panels and the antennas. And we'll maybe not regain signal straight away, but we should have a signal once the relay comes over again. It actually looks like it nearly has while we've been doing this. Where's it orbiting? No, it hasn't. Okay, it's going over. It's warped for a bit. The only thing is we are falling very slow because we've had to open all of them early, but I would rather take that than risk another failure, so give it its take as a few parallel universes to to get this far. Effectively. aka quick saves. There we go. We've not shed quite as much speed as I thought we might actually, but well, as long as we hit the ground with at least one working solar panel and antenna, we are all good effectively. That'll be the heat shield. I did think we would be landing slower than that with this many parachutes, even on Duna, but I guess not. Maybe a pad landing would be good in future. We are slowing down there. I guess the atmosphere is getting a little bit thicker as we get closer to the surface. Yeah, actually it is noticeably. Once we get to 100, we'll switch to regular speed. Don't want to repeat what MechJet did before. 12.1, we're still going to break, I think. At least the bottom plate. Yeah. Okay, yeah. I half expected some breakages. We have sort of gotten away with that, though. Because we might have broken some stuff, but we will have a signal and we will have power. So, we can now time accelerate a little bit and wait. So, we waited a bit too long there. We have a signal. Deploy the primary base, and then we have to time up a little bit to wait until they actually get to that point. Now, this is the bit that worries me the most because this extending could be the bit that breaks something. They're not going to deploy? I thought it was your signal delay we were waiting on. There we go. Right. Science experiments. Deploy all. There appears to be larger concentrations of heavy isotopes in the atmosphere than on Kerbin. Temperature data. Does not appear to be significant seismic activity on the planet. Possibly no longer geologically active. Oh. Blue signal. Well, I believe we have a load of data recorded, even if I can't see it. View data, yeah. Okay. So, power will be something of an issue for our transmissions. I don't believe we'll be able to transmit all data at once. Actually, is that antenna actually broken? Oh, it's not broken. It's just in the ground. Okay, that's interesting. So, what we will do, you could set your antenna to go onto a setting that uses more power. Oh. Or perhaps not. I guess we'll just go transmit the data. Okay, so can we set it to the other mode where it transmits it in pieces? Maybe not. Okay, we have to do that manually then. Yes, we're going to have to actually deploy these. Yeah, system's actually deploying. Oh, that's not quite right. Okay. Right, and we'll try transmitting one at a time, basically. This might be a bit slow and cumbersome, but hey. Also wait for our power to max out. Yeah, well, actually, if we do that while we're waiting for the experiments to run. Are we not going to be able to transmit anything because of power? Okay. Oh, we got something back because we've got a, I think we finished the contract. Okay, so our surface landers also need more power to be able to transmit all the data. That's what we're learning here. Of course, we would have had a bit more, but we lost the flat plate from the bottom. Our transmission window's getting thinner as the planet rotates. Transmit what you can. Okay, I think that... What? What's not been done? Temperature scan. Transmit. Should be able to do that fairly quickly because it's low data or whatever. Check pressure scan. Try and transmit that. Yep. Atmospheric analysis is quite high data on that science. It might be quite power hungry. Okay, that might be the one that stumped us the first time. Might be too much data. Okay. I don't know if we're getting partial transmission or nothing, but I think nothing. But either way, we have managed our contract. Hooray. We've got a little bit of money. The contracts have still paid for both crafts. We have about 500 science. We have a slightly unsuccessful Duna lander. I guess we either need more parachutes or we just need to outright do a powered or manned landing, or well, both, I suppose. Or to have something quite solid on the bottom. Maybe a Nereid, considering the high dive incidents. Perhaps just 4 Nereids as landing feet, frankly. Need to be the strongest thing in our space program, or some I-beams, maybe. Either way, let's go very quickly, before we finish the episode, check out the lab and see if there's anything we'd like to take. Could take bigger wheels, we were saying about rovers potentially, and the actual proper rover body and autopilot. Heavier landing legs and a massive 10-meter heat shield. Improved crew pods. Can't quite afford this stuff, but we could probably Oh dear. Grab a tiny bit of science from around the centre if we needed to get these. Some big solar panels, a few electrical systems, antennas and things. Whatever this is. Oh, drone cores and things. Probe cores. There's also some structural components. All sorts of different bits and pieces. Large fuel tanks. That actually might just outright be a good option, actually. Yeah, we'll maybe do that at the start of the next episode. We'll maybe just grab up the last, like, 8 science we need for that and grab that. Don't know what our next episode will be. I think we do have a mission to go to Eve. Potentially we might try and... Do I have to do all 3? The ground contact on Eve, enter the atmosphere of Eve, and splash down into the oceans of Eve. Can I do all 3? Don't know. Or, we do want to be building surface bases. We could try and build our first actual surface minima space, because we do want to build the colony later. That would be a good prototype for it. Tell you what, we'll take that. We'll set up another little base station for some science, and we'll use that to help practice our eventual colony. Maybe come up with some early landing system designs. Right, but we'll call that there for today. Hopefully you've enjoyed the episode. I'm glad it worked out for the better in the long run. And I'll see you guys all again next time. Goodbye.